always ask me, how do you do all of this? And, well, that's a pretty big question, so I'm just going to go through the entire process on how I created this H5 domino wall and walk you through it. So I'm starting out by planning the project on my computer using Photoshop. Now the plan that I'm using is completely homemade. I basically just made a rectangle that's the size and width of a domino and duplicated that many times to make the structure of a speed wall. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting my H5 logo behind this speed wall image, and that way I can fill in each individual domino using the paint bucket tool, so I can trace out which colors will make up the H5 and which colors will make up the dominoes in the background. So after that, I was pretty happy with the plan, printed it out on my nice little printer, walked outside to the back of the studio. And by the way, the studio, I don't have the studio anymore. This was during my gap year when I rented a studio for a year, and I really miss it watching it back. The trick that I'm building is inspired by something that Mar Dominoes has done in the past, so shout out to him. So I'm gathering all of the colors, and first I'm going to mix up all of the dominoes for the background color, because I actually don't have enough blue to make it all a solid color, so I'm just going to evenly mix it in the bins. So I'm starting this project by putting flat dominoes on the ground and then leaning vertical standing dominoes on top of it. And this is so that the vertical dominoes can lean up against that white wall. And that's going to make it much more stable so that when I build really tall, it won't fall over. Otherwise, if this was just a freestanding speed wall, it might become very unstable and fall over. So having it lean on this wall gives it a lot of stability. And I have a tutorial on this if you're interested in making your own speed wall. I'll link it in the top right corner. But pretty much I'm just following the plan that I made and placing the dominoes wherever they need to go. And this speed wall is kind of interesting because it's not a pyramid, it's a full rectangle. Now, the way that you can make a square edge on a wall is by adding an additional flat domino and then adding 2 vertical dominoes directly on top of each other. And if you just keep repeating this, you'll end up with a perfectly square side of the wall. That's just a little helpful tip if you want to build something like that. So I'll be straight up honest, building dominoes is very time consuming. There's a lot of patience involved, a lot of focus and hard concentration, but I really enjoy the process. I find it very relaxing, and you can even listen to music or podcasts or watch YouTube videos while you build dominoes to pass the time. I find I do that quite often, and I end up learning a lot at the same time, which is really nice. Okay, so this next clip was filmed 2 years ago, and I don't know why my voice just sounds like really weird, but here it is. Oh my god, okay, so I was reaching for some dominoes in a container, and I accidentally dropped one of the dominoes into the bottom of the wall, and some of these came out, but thankfully it's still standing. So I'm just gonna try and carefully repair that. Okay, it's repaired. Wow, okay. That is so scary, trying to fix something when you're like almost done it. We're all good. It's coming out pretty good so far. Alright, I hope you enjoyed watching Lily from 2 years ago. Let's keep going. So now I am placing some of the final dominoes at the top of this wall. You can see the full H5 now, which is great. And now I'm going to make the trigger to actually knock down the wall. So what we have is a domino just attached to a string, and I'm going to put this domino on top of the other vertical domino, so there's 2 vertical dominoes. Now I'm attaching another domino to it just for safety because, this is a one-time project. You want to make sure all of the dominoes fall. So I'm adding an additional domino, so it'll take out 2 dominoes instead of 1. This is going to go right on top of that other string domino. Alright, so now that the wall structure is done, the next step is to put a layer of flat dominoes on top of the speed wall. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to put a full domino line running on top of the wall, and the structure needs an additional barrier or layer of support so that when the domino line on top of it falls, it doesn't knock down the wall underneath it. So this is just a really simple technique. It's just flat dominoes on top, and this is the same technique that I used for the amazing triple spiral video. a lot of people said, like, how did the dominoes not knock down the wall underneath it? And this is how. It's just flat dominoes on top. So now that we have this full platform for dominoes to stand on, I can attach the domino that will pull the string and knock down the wall. So for this trigger, I'm using a larger white domino, and this is just because it'll have a bit more weight when it falls to pull out those dominoes on the side of the wall. So when you're knocking down a structure with string, it's really important to make sure that the length of the string is correct. If the string is too long and the weight, which in this case I'm using that bigger white domino, hits the ground, then it's not going to pull out that domino that's going to knock down your structure. And if the string is too short, then the weight isn't going to have enough speed to pull out that domino and knock out the structure. I'm just going to tape the second string and put it right behind that other white domino, very, very, very carefully. That's always a scary part, making that trigger. But now the trigger is done. The last step is now to just make that line of dominoes on top of the wall. And for this, I'm using the same colored dominoes that are in the actual wall that kind of depict dominoes falling over. It's kind of easy to make the spacing on here because there's a pattern on the surface that I'm building on. So for the flat dominoes on top, I'm using 3 dominoes on top of there, and then 1 domino on that domino that's a little bit below that. All right, I'm filling in the final dominoes, being really careful. And now it is complete. There we go. Alright, now before we knock this down, I want you to scroll down and leave a comment telling me what was something that was cool or interesting or something that you learned in this video. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts, and I kind of want to do more of these types of like voiceover behind the scenes build-up videos. So let me know your feedback, and if you enjoy these types of behind the scenes videos, I just posted another one over on the H5 Domino community channel, and it's a collaboration with Mar Dominoes, and this time we set up 24,000 dominoes. So definitely go check that out after this. And now let's go back to Lily from 2 years ago. Alright, the setup was complete, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this camera.
Yeah, don't forget that one.
Oh, 7, 8, 9, 10 cameras. 10 cameras! And one on top right there. So 11 cameras total for this one domino project. That's crazy. Okay, no joke. This is probably the most cameras I've ever had on one setup for a personal project. Like, this is crazy. And the reason why there were so many cameras was because a short film was being made about me, and it actually won bronze at the Cannes Film Festival in 2017, which was quite amazing. Big shout outs to the film crew for providing all this footage, and I will link the short film down below if you want to watch it. And finally, let's knock it down. Perfect.
That was extremely intense. Oh my god.
That was a weird fall down. It went like really fast.
Yeah, it like exploded downwards.
Yeah. Alright, and now we have some really epic, super slow motion that you can enjoy. This was a super fun project to plan out and build, and I think it took like maybe 5 hours total in the span of just one day. And I'm wondering, should I use this as my new intro? Because I definitely want to make a new intro in the future, not this one, and I don't know if it's worth it to like keep this one for like 6 months and then change it again. Like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Anyways, I'm Hevish5, and I'll see you next Saturday.